Hey everyone, I'm Taylor Moser, and today I'm going to talk about how Spain influenced Filipino culture. The Philippines was under Spanish rule for over 300 years, from 1565 to 1898. That's a long time for cultural influence to take hold, and you can still see traces of it everywhere in language, religion, food, architecture, and even the legal system. It's amazing how much of that history still shapes Filipino life today. One of the biggest signs of Spanish influence is in the language. Over 4,000 Spanish words have become part of Filipino languages like Tagalog and Cebuano. Words like mesa for table, zapatos for shoes, and relos for watch come straight from Spanish. But it's not just about vocabulary. Even the way Filipinos tell time or count money is influenced by Spanish. For example, Filipinos often use alas followed by the hour, like saying alas dues for 2 o'clock, which is straight from Spanish. And if you've ever been to a local market, you'll notice that a lot of the terms used for weights and measures have Spanish roots too. Religion is another huge influence. Spain brought Catholicism to the Philippines, and today about 80% of Filipinos identify as Catholic. This influence isn't just seen in churches and religious practices, it's also reflected in the festivals and celebrations that happen all over the country. Festivals like Sinulog in Cebu and Semana Santa during Holy Week are rooted in Spanish religious traditions. Sinulog is a lively celebration that honors the Santo Nino, while Semana Santa is a more solemn occasion where people reenact the Passion of Christ. And then there's the fiesta culture, where towns celebrate the feast days of their patron saints. These celebrations bring communities together, and the traditions have been passed down for generations. It's a time for families to gather, enjoy food, and celebrate their shared faith. When it comes to architecture, Spanish influence is impossible to miss. Churches, plazas, and forts built during the Spanish period are still standing today. Fort Santiago in Manila and San Agustin Church are perfect examples. These structures were built not just for worship or defense, but also to showcase Spanish power and influence. Even the way towns were laid out followed a Spanish model. There was always a central plaza surrounded by important buildings like the church, government offices, and schools. This layout wasn't just about convenience, it was a way of organizing the community and ensuring that everything revolved around the church and the state. You can still see that design in many Filipino towns today. Filipino food wouldn't be what it is without Spanish influence. Dishes like adobo, which is marinated meat cooked in vinegar and soy sauce, lechon, and paella-style rice dishes all trace their origins back to Spanish cooking. But Filipinos didn't just copy Spanish recipes, they adapted them to local ingredients and tastes, creating unique flavors that are now staples of Filipino cuisine. I've actually been really curious to try lechon. It's that roast pig that's served whole during celebrations, and I've heard it's amazing. I'm looking forward to finally trying it when I move to the Philippines. Yeah, I'm planning to move there in the next few years and make it my home base while I travel the world. I'm really looking forward to experiencing the best of both worlds while I'm there. I plan on starting off by living that New York skyscraper lifestyle in Makati, which is basically the financial capital of the Philippines. Makati is full of high end condos, luxury shopping, and all the modern amenities you'd expect in a big city. But after a while, I'd love to try something more laid back, maybe a beach villa somewhere along the coast. The Philippines has some of the best beaches in the world, and it'd be amazing to wake up to the sound of waves every morning. It's going to be the perfect setup for traveling the world while still having a solid home base. One thing that really stood out to me when I learned about Filipino dining traditions is how similar it was to what I experienced when I was deployed to Iraq. In the Philippines, a lot of traditional meals are served family style, where everyone eats from a big dish in the center of the table. It reminded me of how the Iraqis ate. They would serve a large platter, usually with chicken and rice, and instead of using silverware, they ate with their hands, using bread to scoop up the food. It was a really communal and down to earth way of eating, and I saw that same sense of shared experience in Filipino dining traditions. It makes the meal feel more personal and connected, which is something I always appreciated. Here's something interesting. During Spanish rule, Filipinos were given Spanish surnames. In 1849, the Spanish colonial government implemented the Claveria Decree, which required Filipinos to adopt Spanish surnames to make tax collection and record keeping easier. That's why names like Santos, Garcia, and Reyes are so common in the Philippines today. But the influence didn't stop with names. The legal system in the Philippines is also based on Spanish civil law. This system of laws and governance, rooted in Spanish principles, still forms the backbone of the country's legal framework. Even the concepts of hacienda and encomienda, which shaped land ownership and social hierarchy, were introduced by the Spanish and had a lasting impact on Filipino society. So when you think about it, Spanish influence is everywhere in the Philippines. It's in the language people speak, the religion they follow, the food they eat, and even the laws they live by. Even though the Spanish left more than a century ago, their cultural legacy is alive and well. It's fascinating to see how these influences have blended with Filipino traditions to create something that's truly unique. The Philippines may no longer be a Spanish colony, but its connection to Hispanic culture remains an important part of its identity. Thanks for watching.